Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today I am rating all of my artist grade and some student grade watercolor palettes that I have. Now I want to say a few things about it. First of all, hi, my name is Irit. I'm a watercolor and mixed media artist. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you will subscribe, and if you enjoy this video, please give it a like and leave a comment. That really helps and I really appreciate it. All the links to everything I'm talking about, as well as timestamps, will be listed below. Before we get into everything and a few disclaimers, I wanted to show you my rainbow yarn. I started a second channel that is dedicated to my new crochet addiction. It will not affect this channel at all. Art is my passion and job, and crochet is my hobby. But one of the best things about watercolors and just any kind of craft is finding your tribe and online communities. So I decided to also share my crochet adventures online. And if you're interested in it or you're curious, I would love it if you hop on over there to my new channel, subscribe, and you'll be notified when I post new videos. Crochet aside, okay, watercolors. So I will start with, I have on my blog organized blog post about different kind of watercolors, and I will also write a blog post to kind of summarize this video. So if you prefer to read things in blog form, go there. If you sign up for my newsletter, you will receive a free watercolor shopping guide, and I will put a picture somewhere here on the screen that will really help kind of organize your thoughts and include my recommendations of how to grow a watercolor collection. And I can share from my own experience, and I want to save you money. So that guide has all of my tips and explanations and reasoning on why I recommend certain things over others. So I made this video to share my thoughts and impressions about the sets. In general, I really think that artist grade watercolors, all the brands that I've tried, I haven't tried them all, but all the brands that I've tried have a really high quality paint. Every brand has certain strength and some dud colors. Probably not Schmincke. I think Schmincke, with their precision, I think they get everything almost always perfect. And every brand has strengths, and then there's the whole thing of like personal preference. Where do you stand? What kind of paint you prefer and what kind of colors you enjoy? So maybe one brand has a beautiful version of, I don't know, let's say like a Potter's Pink or specialty colors that other brands don't have, even if the quality is really great across the board. In general, I do not recommend buying curated sets unless you're starting out and this is your first set. So if you want to try a new brand, my personal recommendation, don't waste your money on a basic curated set, because you'll probably already have these colors in your stash. You probably won't use all of them because every artist and every painter, no matter which level you are or where you are in your journey, has preferences, and there is no artist that uses, you know, a whole range of like basic curated set at the same pace. So you're guaranteed to spend your money on paint you will not use. And also you might be missing out on the best things, because basic sets, curated sets, usually do not include specialty colors and higher end pigments. So like the higher series of pigments that are more expensive. It doesn't mean that they are better. It doesn't mean that you will like them better. It just means that they are not included in basic sets almost always. You have now brands doing like curated sets, with which I think is amazing, and I'm all for it. So that is great. So if you see a specialty set from a brand you want to try, or you want to expand your range, and those are a great way to try a new brand. But don't buy the basic, 12, 24, 36 set just to try a new brand if you already have an artist grade palette that you use and love. That is my personal advice, and I stand behind it. Look at all the pink. Anyway, I hope you will enjoy this quite heavy, long video, and that you understand that my rating when it comes to artist grade paint is based, in this video, it's also based on the palette that they offer with said set, and yeah, personal preference. So take that under consideration and make your decisions. And please, if you feel kind of lost, I highly recommend to check out my shopping guide, because it will help you understand kind of the reasons why you should invest in something or not, and what is the best way to grow a watercolor collection that is unique to you and also allows you to try new things, new brands, new colors, but in the right way, so you don't buy things you already have or that you will not use. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. I'm going to start with student grade paints, and the reason that I included student grade in this video is because I do think there is room for these in people's collection. While student grade, you know, for the most part, it's the quality varies between brands, the formulation varies, but I would say what's correct to all student grade paints that are made by known companies like Winsor & Newton, like Schmincke, like Royal Talens, is that they use pigments that are cheaper. That doesn't mean that they are not good. There's a range of prices for pigments. So for example, like the Cobalt or the like the Daniel Smith Primatech pigments are just more expensive, and then there are cheaper ones like Ultramarine Blue or the Phthalos or something like this, and those tend to be the ones used in student grade paint. The ranges are smaller, they don't include the more expensive pigments, and in general, as a blanket statement, personally, for, you know, most of your watercolors, if you can afford it, I would recommend artist grade. However, if you're on a very, very tight budget, but you still want a nice size palette with a nice collection of colors, then you might consider getting student grade. And also, if you want to paint with kids that are artistic, that you want them to have like good stuff, I really recommend these as opposed to, well, with a few exceptions, there are a couple of like really, really great craft grade sets out there. Links to everything below. And I'll also have like a written version of all of this, so you can read that if you prefer. But my kids, we paint a lot together and they go through a lot of paint, and I wouldn't want to let them use the artist grade paint because it doesn't make such a difference to them, and it's just really expensive. So I have 3 brands of kind of well-known student grade paints, and my favorite when it comes to the paint itself is the Van Gogh, and I have here 2 sets. As I've said, like my sets have been, all the paints have been moved around, so I'll put on the screen photos of what you would get if you buy the set, but this one is a 24 set and then this one is a 12. What I don't like about any of these, like the Winsor & Newton as well, are the plastic palettes, which I've talked about this in the past. The problem with plastic, it is, you know, it's quite durable, depends on the type. These are very durable, like strong plastics. The problem is that these palettes across the board will not accommodate every brand. So sadly, there's no like industry standard for the type of pan that you use. And so there are very small variations in the size of half pans and full pans. It depends on the brand. Some have a slightly taller and thinner one, some are like wider and fatter. So you will not be able to change colors and customize your palette so easily with plastic palettes, any plastic palettes from any brand. Some will fit. So for example, I think these might accommodate the Cotman or Winsor & Newton one, but they'll probably won't accommodate the Schmincke ones. So it really depends on the palette, but I can tell you that for certain. And that's why I really recommend getting a metal palette or a palette that is more customizable. So that's about the palettes. Now about the paint, there is actually a pretty nice set of Cotman paints that it's full when it comes, and it has their entire range. I think it's 45 half pans. And I would say that's like a nice set. It just looks great and it has a good variety of colors for an artistic teenager, I would say. Cotmans are very, very widely available, and once you run out of the pans, you can get big 20 milliliter tubes that are really affordable. That's kind of it when it comes to Cotman. I don't really like them, but they are very widely available. And this is a really good kind of beginner's set. Yeah, just because it kind of has a lot of colors, and you know, you have a ton of space to mix your colors. You can remove this. You have a ton of space. This is quite big. So if your space is small, that's not a good choice for you. But you know, it's like, it's a kind of a traditional set of student grade paints. If you are on a tighter budget, then they have this one. This is really affordable. This is a 14 half pan Cotman set. And it's also with Cotman, it's, you know, once you run out of paint, or if you want to upgrade to an artist grade paint, then it's very easy to do that and kind of upgrade to Winsor & Newton, and the pans will fit your palette. So I would say if, for example, you're in the UK and you have, you know, you like to shop in your local art store, or if that is kind of what you have on hand, then, you know, this could be like a good choice. The quality of Cotman, they are a bit dry, sometimes a little bit anemic. They are my least favorite of all the paints that I have, but I can recognize some of their advantages. So this palette is really, really great for travel, and you have here space to mix your colors. You get a range of 14 colors, which is a pretty good selection. Here you can mix more paints. Here you can put a little bit of water. So I've used this palette with my kids a lot, and it's, you know, it's really nice. I have mine. I received it when I got the Winsor & Newton kind of travel bag, which I still really like. I've had it for years and it traveled with me several times, and I really like it. And it comes with this set. So if you kind of want a really low budget travel case, I mean, the price varies, but if you can find it on sale, I have a dedicated video that shows exactly what comes in it. It's not a bad choice. It's not a bad choice. It kind of has everything you need with brushes, and I think also a little paper pad. So if you're kind of just starting, you want to go out and paint, then that set is kind of a no-brainer. You don't have to figure out everything. You can just grab that, and it has pretty much everything you need. But yeah, the paint is not amazing. So that is Cotman. Now Van Gogh, I really like the paint. I think for student grade and the price, the quality of the paint and the price for student grade paint is amazing. And I would especially focus on the kind of single pigment, transparent colors, or, you know, colors that are not so hard to formulate and are kind of standard across brands. I mean, their ultramarine blue is lovely. Some of their pinks are great. I love carmine, especially. And they also have the dusk colors, which are a mixture of usually like transparent bright pigments with a granulating black, a Mars black or oxide black. And those are great, and I highly recommend them. They're kind of like fun colors that are non-traditional. And yeah, so the 24 set is okay. If you can afford it, I would go for one of the other options in the artist grade range. I don't like the palette at all. It's very kind of bulky, it's kind of wasteful, there's a lot of like unused space. You do get a decent amount of mixing space here. I do like the sponge that you can kind of clean your brush on it, but other than that, yeah, not a big fan of these boxes at all. But this is a great option. I do recommend Van Gogh for if you want to kind of pick up either their small basic 15 set as kind of a starter. If you have no watercolors in your stash, then that's a good affordable option of student grade paint. If you are on a budget and you want to kind of try some fun paints, then try their dusk colors. And then just a few of their shades are really nice, like their carmine, for example, is a really, really great carmine color. Let's talk for a minute about the Schmincke. This was a special edition summer palette. I changed the paints around. It comes with, I think it came with 12 or 18 pans of their Academy paint. The Schmincke Academy paint is beautiful, but it's more expensive than a lot of artist grade, and for that reason I don't recommend it. So unless you only want to use Schmincke and you can't afford their artist grade paint, or you only want Schmincke that is vegan, then I would say, okay, try the Academy, but other than that, I would not recommend that paint. Not because it's not good, just because it's really expensive and you can buy just artist grade for that price. Okay, now the exciting part of rating my artist grade paints. I want to remind you that this rating is based on the kind of entirety of the offering, and it doesn't mean that I necessarily like the paint itself less. It just means that I think the whole set is, you know, not as good as others. So I'm gonna start with Core. And the reason that Core is last place is because of their price and also color range. So Core is made by Golden, and their whole like branding is very kind of modern, innovative paint. They have a patent for their binder, which is called Aquazol, if I'm not mistaken. And the paint. Okay, let's talk about the paint before we get into the set. The paint is great. Personally, I don't think it's, a lot of people say that, you know, it's the only paint they use and it's like much, much brighter than other paints and it doesn't lighten as it dries as much as other paints. And while all that is true, I still prefer other brands. And the only reason that I have Core in my palette, right now I have Quinacridone Gold from Core in my palette, is because of the unique binder. When you combine Core with other brands, and I have a dedicated video for that, you can check it here, it pushes them around. I particularly like that effect with yellow because I paint mostly florals and I like to sprinkle yellow on my florals. And what that does when I'm using Core and also some colors from other brands, so it also depends on the formulation. For example, Daniel Smith Nickel Azo Yellow mostly does the same effect, so you don't have to have Core for that. What it does is just it pushes the colors away, the other watercolors, so it's kind of like a bossy paint. And for me, the effect is, you know, if I sprinkle yellow, then yellow is a very kind of light color, it's very easily contaminated. And if it pushes the colors away, then I get the effect of like these splatters of light and I don't get mud and the yellow doesn't mix with the other colors. That's why I have that one paint from Core included in my palette. Now, that effect can be replicated to varying degrees with their synthetic ox gall. So this is a synthetic medium, and basically if you will add this to any of your watercolors, it doesn't have to be Core, you will get that pushy effect to varying degrees depending on the pigment and the formulation of a particular brand. So if you are curious about that effect, I would say either pick a tube of core in a color that would work for you. So for me, that would be like a yellow. Their quinacridone gold is beautiful. Or pick up this. It's not really expensive and you get a ton of product. And then you can really experiment with what it does to all of your watercolors. So let's get into the particular sets. Core has this set, and this is currently their only half pan paint. Everything else they offer is in tubes. Now, I really like this set. I think it's a really fun set. There's something about the design, the palette that is very inviting. It's a very pleasurable experience to use them. The colors are super vibrant. And yeah, it's a really good selection of colors. You can do a lot with the set, great for travel, and it's just a really nice product. It's quite expensive. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth the price unless you really feel connected with the design and you want to try the brand or you want to see their formulation. The half pan formulation is beautiful. This activates extremely fast, very, very intense colors. So if that sounds like something that would appeal to you, yeah, I enjoy this set. Now, their tube sets, I currently don't have the tubes inside. Their tube sets, they have several tube sets. They're all lovely. I have 2 and I think they offer 4. Great way to try the brand. The price point is really good. However, for me, that experience with Core kind of stopped there. It stopped at these sets. I bought the paint, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's superior to other brands in my personal opinion. This is made in the US, I'm in Europe, so this is more expensive for me to buy than European brands. And the tubes themselves are smaller than the standard tubes from other brands. They are, I think, 11 milliliters, and then other brands usually offer 15 milliliters or 20 milliliters. So it's just way too expensive to be my personal go-to paint. And as I've said, beyond the introductory sets, I will only buy probably a yellow in the future for that pushy effect. So this is why they are kind of in the bottom of this list. The paint is great. It's just, also their color range is quite limited compared to the other brands that I will show you. So I think they should expand it and maybe kind of create something a bit more, you know, in competition with like Daniel Smith, which their color range is just unparalleled in the industry. These are the Aquarius watercolors. This was sent to me by the brand to try. And the colors that I got are not the ones that are in this set. Now, the paint is beautiful. It's very comparable to White Nights, which I will get to. The reason this is rated lower than White Nights is purely because of this box. If you like the aesthetics of a wooden box, then, you know, you might like this. For me, this is a bit, it's great as a gift, but it's not a very usable palette. I think now the version that they have now comes with like a white surface. I just have, comes here with, they painted this so you can use it as a mixing area, which is a great idea. And you know, that's the only way they should sell this palette. And then this, again, we go into the plastic issue that this will not accommodate every other brand and will only accommodate the full pans from this brand. The paint itself is lovely. The price point is really good. This is made in Poland, if I'm not mistaken. And between this and White Nights, I would say they're very, very comparable. And they have, the Aquarius have some beautiful mixtures and some really great dupes for the more expensive like Daniel Smith paints. So I have a video dedicated to this. I think the paint is beautiful. I stopped using it I stopped purchasing it because it's not vegan, but I can highly recommend it. Like with every brand, there are a few paints that are, I would say, not that perfectly formulated. So for me, the cobalt violet and their lavender were a bit of a disappointment, but other than that, it is a really, really beautiful paint. I think for now they only come in full pans, so you know that can be a bit limiting, but you do get a lot of paint for your money, and the quality is beautiful. These are handmade, I think, and yeah, but this box is not great. I would always recommend the traditional metal tins, which we'll get to. So in number 3 we have the failure of the Daniel Smith, their first set. So Daniel Smith have been around for many years, and they only had tube paints of their watercolors, and then a few years ago they came with their first half pans sets, and for some reason they decided to sell them in these palettes. So this palette is horrible, and I think it should have been recalled. And you can't, first of all, it squeaks, it doesn't feel great, it takes kind of wiggling around to get it to open. If you have it, this is really good for extra storage on the go. So for example, if you have like your main palette and you want to also take with you, if you're going on a long trip or something, and if you want to take like extra half pans that you're not sure if you know you want them in your main palette, then this is like a super compact way of taking them. You could insert half pans, again it's plastic so it might not accommodate every brand, or you could just squeeze paints here. So this is a really, really super compact way of carrying paint. You can't mix anything on here because there's a little gap and everything just flows down to create a puddle outside of your palette. So a big, big fail. Thankfully, Daniel Smith did come out a couple of years later, a year later, with traditional metal tins with their paint, and those are great. I can highly recommend those sets. It would be an amazing first set if you want to upgrade to artist grade paint. So this is number 3 just because of the horrible, horrible palette. The paint itself, the half pan formulation is good. I particularly like it for traveling, Daniel Smith in general, because it does dry to quite a dry paint. And also the half pans are more on the dry side, you know, as opposed to like Sennelier or White Knights that are just more like gooey and don't completely dry. So Daniel Smith dries really, really nicely, and it's great for travel. But yeah, definitely get the metal tins and not these if they are even still on sale, which they shouldn't be. At number 2, we have the White Knights. Again, this has been moved around and manipulated. When you buy a set, it will not look like this. So the reason this is number 2 is because the combination of the paint, the price is really, really good. So if you're kind of starting out with watercolors, or if you have student grade and you want to upgrade to artist grade, and you want maximum bang for your buck, so the most product for your money, White Knights or Aquarius are a really, really great choice. Now, I bought this set years ago. I'm pretty sure that White Knights now offer metal tins, so I highly recommend go with a metal tin, because as you grow, develop, and change, and you want to try new brands and you want to try other paints, the metal tins will accommodate any brand, and you won't be limited, and you won't be annoyed that, you know, you bought a full pan of a beautiful Winsor & Newton color that you wanted to try and it doesn't fit in your palette. However, if you're not there yet, if you just want like one set and you're like, don't tell me about my, you know, development as an artist, just tell me a great set to buy. My top recommendation would be the 24 full pan set from White Knights. White Knights don't have half pans, but they cost like half pans. So I would say 24. I bought the 36 set and it's great, but 24 is plenty. And if you have, they also have an option of a 24 set in this box, which can accommodate 36. So you can buy the 24 paints and then add to it colors of your choice, either when you first buy it or after you start painting and see where your preferences are. And yeah, I think that's a great deal, a great option. The palette itself is really big. It has a ton of space for mixing. So if space is not a problem for you, it's a very, yeah, it's a good option. Again, I would say I would always prefer the metal tins, but if you just want like one great, really affordable set that will last you for years, this will last you years, then White Nights are a great option. Nothing to say about it. I bought this set years ago and I still think it's a great, great option. At number 1, I recommend getting, if you want an artist grade set, I recommend getting a traditional set of 24 half pans that comes in a traditional tin. I think 24 is kind of the sweet spot between a really lovely range of colors and still, you know, being encouraged to mix your own paints and have a nice size. I think these palettes have a really nice size to them. It gives you options if you want to tweak your palette. So you can start with the 24 curated set and then decide, okay, I don't like, let's say, raw umber. I prefer to have instead another neutral or another color. You can easily remove it and replace it with any brand, any kind of paint. The set that I personally bought was the Sennelier one, which now houses different colors. I will put a picture on the screen of what you get. And Sennelier is a beautiful, beautiful French honey-based paint. And what I particularly love about their 24 set is that the colors they include are very versatile, and some of them are very traditional. So it will be an extremely versatile palette, but they also include a few colors that are just like a little bit different that you won't necessarily find in other basic curated sets. Now, I don't have a specific recommendation like you should get the Sennelier over other similar sets, meaning 24 half pans in a metal tin. The Sennelier is a beautiful option, but the Daniel Smith one is a beautiful option that is also vegan. And pretty much every major brand offers this option now. So shop around, look for a good deal, and also think ahead, you know, if you want to replenish your colors, then think about a brand that is local to you, because that would usually mean that it's cheaper and you're not paying for import and like customs. And so start there, find a good deal, look what they have in your local shop, but that would be my top recommendation for a starting great go-to artist grade paint set. I personally don't like the larger metal tins. I really find that with time they kind of, I don't know, they're just too big. So personally, I don't really like them. And I think 24 is a great range to start with. I hope this was helpful to you, and I will see you soon in another video. Don't forget to check all the links below and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I would be happy to try and answer them if I can. So thanks for watching. Bye.